39 female, have a 6-person girl group since college, 37 to 39 female, and that includes Mary, 38 female. We've been close throughout the years and have been at milestone events for each other. Mary just had a baby and is completely fitting the crazy new mother stereotype. In college, Mary has always been someone who had to make it known that she was unique/different from the rest of us, which wasn't as draining then as it has become now. For starters, all other women in our circle got married between the ages of 22 to 27, and we all have multiple kids, so the 5 of us were able to experience those milestones alongside one another and got closer as we shared similar lifestyles. Mary was very adamant on not settling until her 30s because she wanted to travel and have different experiences, which we all supported. Regardless, she would continue to make comments about how she's so lucky, unlike us, because we're tied down with husbands and babies. I think this is where she grew resentment towards us because we were in different places in life, and she was upset we couldn't have our group be similar to how it was in college. Then, into our mid-30s, it became a whole saga of she's getting older and can't find a husband because all the good men are married or divorced with kids. When she finally got married, many could not attend because it was a destination event and child-free during COVID. This caused a fight because she said how she was there for us during our weddings, but we couldn't put aside a week for her. We had all told her how we wished we could, but it simply was not financially feasible and didn't logistically work with our kids. But she just refused to hear us out and was simply so inconsiderate about our lives and families, saying we were horrible friends. Now Mary just gave birth to her first child and I was very excited for her. The only issue is that she moved from our state to a very remote place that's only accessible by a 6-hour car ride. Her baby is 6 months old and none of us have been able to go up to visit her. I think she's been having a wrong idea of what a village is, and has essentially demanded in our group chat that we come up for the holidays and help her out because she's having a hard time adjusting to mum life. But this would entail we all take a week off, arrange childcare, figure out transportation and book hotels during the holidays. It's gotten to the point where she's posting cryptic messages on Facebook, bashing fake friends who won't be there for her. As much as I wish I could, I cannot physically support her in the way she needs me to do in this stage of life. It would have been completely different if she still lived in our city and this was earlier in life when we had less commitment/priorities. So I told her this, and that if she was hoping for this big village and constant support, she should have thought about that when planning out her life, because we can't all just pause our lives for her. So am I the arsehole? To be honest, I think they're both pretty unreasonable, but I have a feeling that this post is incredibly one-sided. I feel like they're probably exaggerating what Mary is demanding, as they say. And it completely depends on whether Mary was helping all of their friends when they had kids, and now that she's had a kid, they won't help her. Obviously, she does live 6 hours away, so I don't know why she would expect them to, but I don't know. But also, if you've had kids earlier than her, then obviously she's going to turn to you lot for advice. And if you've had kids so long ago, as you say, could none of you find like one weekend to go up and see her? Like, she's had a baby for 6 months and none of you have gone to see her, and you claim you're all close friends. Clearly not. I don't know, I feel like this is too one-sided for me to give an opinion on. I do think she's an arsehole, but then she's made Mary seem like an arsehole as well. But then she might be making Mary seem like an arsehole so that she doesn't. So I guess I'll go with they're both the arsehole. The next one is, am I the arsehole for letting my 16-year-old daughter drink a glass of wine? Last night, I, female 46, had a glass of wine while watching a movie with my daughter, female 16, and she asked me if she could try some. Normally, I'm strict with my children when it comes to alcoholic beverages, but I didn't think a little wine would hurt, so I poured her a glass. I told her that this would be a once-in-a-blue-moon exception. My husband, male 48, on the other hand, was not okay with this. When he came into the living room and saw her with the wine in her hand, he lost his mind. He started shouting at me, asking why the hell I let her drink alcohol underage, and said she could easily become addicted to it. I immediately felt bad and apologised, but my husband is still pissed with me over this. I don't think he trusts me anymore. Am I the arsehole? Okay, I'm just going to assume that this is the US, where I think the drinking age is 21. trouble. But then I do understand the dad getting pissed, because it is such a difference between 16 and 21. I don't know what the drinking culture is like in the US, but I don't know, I don't think she's the arsehole. The next post is, am I the arsehole for letting my child ride her pony to school? My 36 female, child 7 female, asked if she could ride her pony to school last week. For context, we have a small paddock attached to our home where we keep 2 horses, one for me and one for my child. Every morning before school, my child gets all of her pony chores done before we leave, and we normally walk to school, which takes around 20 minutes. We live on the outskirts of a fairly populated city, where it's not uncommon to see horses occasionally, but we are by no means in a rural village. I agreed to let my daughter ride her pony to school because I thought it was a harmless fun thing to do, and also it gives the pony some exercise as we had evening plans and wouldn't be riding that evening. We arrived at the school gates and of course gathered a little bit of a crowd, which wasn't a problem. The pony is very good and lapped up all the pats and strokes from kids. One girl came bounding over from the year above my daughter and started shouting at me, saying she wanted to ride. I politely told her that she couldn't because she doesn't have a riding hat and she would have to learn on a safer horse. She immediately started hysterically crying and pleading with her mum, saying she wanted to ride. Her mum looked at me with disgust and said, "See, this is what happens when you have no self-awareness and bring an effing horse to a school," and stormed off, dragging her kid with her. I was a bit taken aback but ignored her, sent my child into school and walked the pony home. I was talking to my friend this weekend and she said I was in fact the problem and I was blatantly showing off and should have known that this would cause upset and problems. My response is I turn up to the school gates in jodhpurs and boots regularly, so everyone probably knows I have horses. Is that showing off too? All I wanted to do is let my daughter do something a bit silly and fun. Now I'm really overthinking it though and always feel nervous to do school drop-off tomorrow, so am I the arsehole for letting my daughter ride her horse to school? Edit, I want to clear some things up. Firstly, I'm based in England. Secondly, the pony never went into school grounds. There was a small patch of grass about 30 metres from the main school gate, and we stood there so no child with allergies would have been subject to horse germs if they didn't deliberately come over to us. This also means I don't feel like I should have run it by the school. And lastly, the pony is an ex-riding school pony. It's been surrounded by kids its whole life and used to do kids' birthday parties and everything. I know animals are unpredictable, but I was 99.999% sure that the pony would be fine and actually just appreciate the fuss of the tiny humans. He absolutely did. I think I'm going to go with not the arsehole for this one. Children do have to know and be taught that they're not entitled to everything. That you aren't entitled to go on someone else's horse just because they've brought it to school. I'd understand if it was a friend or something, but then maybe they'd already know that they had horses and probably have already ridden it. But like, if a parent picked up a child in a fancy car or like on a motorbike or, I don't know, something unusual, kids would probably look at it and may even want to ride it or whatever, but they're not going to ask to do that because it's someone else's car or vehicle or whatever. And the only people that potentially would be the kids' friends, and then I think that would probably be acceptable. But just some random kid, you're obviously not going to let them on the horse because that's dangerous. And obviously you can argue that it's showing off, but people show off things all the time. You wouldn't necessarily say that someone picking their kid up in their car that they own, that happens to be an expensive car, is showing off. They're just picking their kid up in the car they own. So yeah, I would say she's not the arsehole at all. The next post is, would I be the arsehole if I stopped letting my mother-in-law see my daughter because of how she speaks about her? I, 30 female, and my husband, 31 male, have a toddler, 3 female. Back when she was born, and for half of her life, my husband and I lived in a different city and could only see his parents on Sundays or the occasional holiday. On top of that, my mother-in-law travels all the time to see the other grandkids, scattered around the States. Whenever we would come over, my daughter was very shy and stuck close by me and my husband. She didn't want to be held or have others in her face. My mother-in-law would say that my daughter hated her or didn't love grandma whenever she asked for a hug or tried to be around her. One time we were picking up my daughter from nursery. My mother-in-law asked to come with me. Because my daughter ran to me first and cried when my mother-in-law tried to pick her up, she decided to tell the nursery worker that my daughter hated her and that her grandsons loved her more and wanted to be around her. Keep in mind the grandsons are 5 and 8 during this time. I was so embarrassed and hurt that she would say that to the nursery worker. My husband does not talk to her directly but has mentioned it to his father and he agrees that it's she needs to stop. A few times he has spoken up in front of her when she would say that my daughter hates her. My mother-in-law ignores him and continues to claim that my daughter doesn't like her. Now my toddler is 3 and asks to see Gaga all the time. We now live right next door, so she can see my mother-in-law anytime she wants. Even now, every time we are there with her, even when my daughter hugs her goodbye, she will still say that she doesn't like her. We now have a 10-month-old girl, and she has started doing it to her too, even though she is just a baby. It's to the point that I just don't want my mother-in-law around my daughters anymore. My heart breaks every time she speaks ill of them. There are other granddaughters in the family, and I never hear a bad word about them. It truly feels like she is singling out my daughters. Would I be the arsehole if I told my mother she can no longer see my kids if all she is going to do is say hurtful things about them? I'm worried that at some point my toddler is going to start understanding what she is saying and have her feelings get hurt. No, I don't think she would be the arsehole. She's a grown woman, and she knows exactly what she's doing, talking to her granddaughter like that. Like she's doing it deliberately. She is definitely singling out this person's daughters, and it could potentially be that she doesn't like the mother. Because I thought, reading it to start with, it's probably that she's misogynistic because she was mentioning her grandsons and how much they love her. And we all know mothers with their sons and their grandsons. But then she said that she's not like that with her other granddaughters, so it has to be these ones specifically. And I would imagine it's probably the mother. I had a similar situation like this in my family, and the kid will 100% know that they're not liked. They're not stupid. I think the husband has to actually have a direct conversation with his mum, because she probably won't take it from anyone else. Because actually thinking about it now, I think if the poster told the mother-in-law that she can't see the kids until she stops treating them like that, it's probably just going to cause more rift in the family. It's probably better coming from the husband to the mum, because she doesn't sound like a reasonable woman at all. So yeah, definitely not the arsehole. The next one is, am I the arsehole for limiting my daughter's access to her money based on what her siblings earn? My 48 male daughter, 15 female, has gathered some following on social media and started to get approached by some brands to promote their products. I don't know the first thing about this digital influencer culture, but I like that she's happy creating her content. We went through a family tragedy when my first wife passed away 3 years ago, and I believe the dedication to her channels had a major positive impact on my daughter in a difficult time in her life. Anyway, whenever a company approaches her, I help the best way I can, going over the terms and conditions of contracts and so on. One thing that surprised me though is that some of those offers involve serious money, so I told my daughter from day one that I would put it all away for her so she can access her money when she turns 18. My view is that for as long as she's a minor and unable to make more informed financial decisions, she should get by on her allowance, just as my other 2 children do. She was fine with this at first, but lately she started asking me for more of her money. She pointed out that I allow my other daughter to keep and spend the earnings from her babysitting gigs. It's a ridiculous comparison because a teen having some pocket money from babysitting as a complement to their allowance doesn't even begin to compare to the kind of money my other daughter is making now. But it's a fair point, and I gave her that, so I told her that we can use this as a reference. We could take an average of what her sister was earning with babysitting, or what her brother was earning flipping burgers in the fast food industry, or what most teenagers would realistically be expected to earn in this phase of life. I said I'd agree to take a similar amount from her earnings every month so she could complement her allowance, but the bulk of it would still be put away until she turns 18. She thought I wasn't taking her seriously to propose something like that, so was this an arsehole-ish move on my part? Okay, well at least he's not trying to take the money for himself, so there's that. And I do understand having a bit of control over your children's money if they're a bit shit and don't know how to do it themselves, especially if they don't really know the value of money and everything and they're just being ridiculous with it. But then at the same time, that is their mistake to make. Like, I do think it's smart to potentially put some away for when she's 18 or put it into savings or anything. But what happens at 18 to make you more able to make financial decisions? Nothing. So realistically, she could be able to do that now at 15. To be honest, I think that maybe they should look into using the money to get a similar amounts, or is it just because she's earning more than her siblings? I don't know. I guess I'll go with like a light arsehole. The next post is, am I the arsehole for letting my grandma eat dog treats? So today I, 30 female, was at my parents' house so my dog could play with them since he loves his grandparents. My grandparents are here for the holidays and are staying at my parents' house. All 5 of them took a nap in the afternoon and I decided to make some homemade treats for my dog to top off their supply. I took them out of the oven to cool and went to the bathroom. But when I came out, my grandma was jumping down on a treat with an understandably disgusted look on her face. The treats are just pureed pumpkin, flour, egg and cinnamon, so they are safe for humans. They're the same recipe I use for human cookies, but there's no sugar or butter, so they're not tasty at all. I told her all of that, we laughed, and that was that. Well, my grandma mentioned that at dinner, and my dad absolutely blew up at me. He said I'm a jerk for not making it clear they were dog treats, that I should have labelled them and made sure that they were put away as soon as possible, and not left the kitchen while they were out. I said I wouldn't have left them out if everything in them wasn't safe for everyone in the house, plus they're in the shape of tiny dog bones, and I only left for like 10 minutes, and my grandma even thought it was funny, but my dad isn't letting it go, so now I'm doubting myself. So am I the arsehole? Of course they're not the arsehole. If they're dog bone shaped treats, I think it's quite obvious that they're for a dog. And the grandma clearly doesn't care, so why does the dad? It's not like she poisoned her grandma. I think that's a complete overreaction from him. Also, it's a bit bold of the grandma to just walk into the kitchen and eat some food that someone's just baked. She had no idea what they were, clearly. But they could have been for anyone. Hopefully she's now learned not to go in and eat people's food. The next one is, am I the arsehole for making my brother-in-law cry even though he was being rude? My 27 female husband, Eli, 28 male, has 2 sisters, but the youngest being his brother Ryan, 20 male. Ryan is a 6'4" but skinny little thing, gets treated like a baby and is extremely quiet. Everyone starts conversations with him 100% of the time, and he replies with one-word answers without looking up, and they all constantly ask if he is okay. He speaks monotone and he gets agitating. I'm not sure he even knows what I look like, even though he has seen me so much. We visited Eli's family for dinner yesterday evening. Ryan was sat in front of me. Eli asked him how he was, and he just smiled and nodded his head. I had enough and thought it was pretty rude, but I didn't lash out. I calmly asked Ryan if he was going to reply. He just stared at me, so I said hello. The whole time Eli kept nudging and glaring at me. Then I said, I think it's a bit rude that you don't answer when spoken to, in a light-hearted tone. To my surprise, Ryan walked off crying and Eli told me to shut the fuck up. Luckily, the rest of his family were in the kitchen. He's never spoken to me like that before, and the rest of the dinner was a bit awkward. When we came home, Eli told me not to speak to Ryan again, and I'm the one who was being rude. I really get surprised when people write this out and can't see themselves that they are the arsehole. Like, of course you were being rude. If Eli doesn't have a problem with his brother speaking to him like that, who is 20, by the way, he doesn't have to speak to anyone he doesn't want to, realistically, then why do you have a problem with it? And the worst thing is he did reply. He smiled and nodded his head. Is that not an answer to his question? Some people just don't like talking that much. It is what it is. But yeah, it's pretty obvious that she's the arsehole. The next post is, am I the arsehole for refusing to visit my parents in prison? For context, I fell out with them several years ago. My sister was facing homelessness and asked me if she could live with me. I was about to say yes when she said I would have to rehome my dog because she is allergic, so I told her no. She later tried to get rid of him by feeding him raisins. Fortunately, the vet was able to save him and he lived on for another 2 years before passing at the age of 14. I cut my sister out of my life, and when our parents protested this, saying I should have just gotten rid of my dog, I also cut contact with them. I haven't talked to them since until my aunt told me that the 2 of them were arrested. They ended up getting convicted and sentenced to 10 years each for fraud. My aunt asked if I would visit them, telling me they missed me. When I said no, she didn't get angry or yell at me or anything like that, but she looked really disappointed, saying that after they raised me, they deserved some sympathy or at least proper closure. Parents don't deserve anything purely for birthing you and bringing you into the world. It's the actions that deserve respect or sympathy or whatever it is that they think they deserve. And obviously some people would think, oh, it's just a dog. Who cares? But it completely depends on the person. Like, she clearly very much cares for her dog. And I would be the same. There's no way I would get rid of a dog, especially if, so it died at 14. this scenario. I wouldn't be getting rid of any of them. And she obviously wasn't going to see her parents anyway, so why would she now just go and visit them when they've been done for fraud? She wasn't going to see you anyway. Also, I somehow just completely forgot that she tried to kill the dog. Like, sorry, no, that is not okay. Yeah, the OP is definitely not the arsehole. The next post is, am I the arsehole for telling my 6-year-old that Santa isn't real? Hopefully everyone watching this knows that already, if not, sorry. I, 39 male, was watching the movie Elf with my wife, 32, and 6-year-old daughter. We reached the scene where the elves are working on Santa's sled to make it fly because not enough people believe in Santa. My daughter latches onto this and just keeps asking, is Santa real? Her mother said yes, but my daughter kept asking me as well. I said, Santa is a great idea and a lot of fun, but no, he is not real. For some context, I love Christmas, but I didn't get to celebrate Christmas until I had a family of my own. I was raised in a family whose religion prohibited Christmas. I couldn't wait to get out and experience all the moments I missed, so we do Christmas as big as we can. All the stereotypical traditions, and for the past 5 Christmases I passively went along with the Santa idea with my daughter, even though I told my wife that I didn't really like lying to her, and I didn't see the point in lying about something that would eventually come out no matter what. I also told my wife that I wouldn't lie if I was asked. Well, the moment finally came. She asked me and I said he wasn't real. At first my daughter was fine. My wife gave her some long explanation as to why she is lucky we get her presents. My daughter didn't really like this explanation and was upset. We both told her that some parents work really hard to convince their kids that Santa exists, and that she shouldn't try to convince kids otherwise. My wife definitely felt like I should have lied. Eventually, my wife asked my daughter if learning that Santa wasn't real changed how she feels about Christmas, and my daughter said kinda. My wife thinks I should have lied, that kids believing in Santa is harmless and that I can't relate to Christmas from a child's perspective because I didn't have those experiences. I think we played along with the tradition for as long as we could, but when my daughter directly asked me, the truth was the better option. I can't really walk this one back, and we will all have a good holiday, but am I the arsehole? Yeah, I think he's the arsehole. 6 years old, I think is quite early to learn that Santa isn't real. And I don't know any child that has ever been annoyed that their parent has lied to them about Santa. What a weird thing to be upset about. And I just think but I can't lie to her if she asks me outright, it's just a cop-out. You just don't personally like the idea of it, and you've just been biding your time to tell her, let's be honest. And you're telling me you've never lied to your kid? I don't bloody think so. There is no way you have never lied to your kid or never lied to your kid. Like, would you have really gone your whole life really upset that you'd been lying to your kid about Santa? I don't think so. Yeah, that's just weird. But I guess maybe they're not grown up celebrating Christmas. Maybe he doesn't really have he doesn't care about Santa and he can enjoy Christmas without it. So I guess he feels like the daughter can enjoy Christmas without it. I don't know. I just feel like he could have told a little white lie in that situation. Okay, the last post is, am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend that my daughters don't need to spend time with hers? I, 43 male, have 3 daughters, ages 12 and 13, Tina and Tracy, and my oldest being 22, who's irrelevant to this and has moved away from home. From my marriage with my late wife. I've been dating my current partner, Amber, for almost 2 years, and she recently moved into my home. She has a 9-year-old daughter, Cara, with her ex. They recently moved in with me in late September. Tina and Tracy have always stuck together. They were closest in age compared to their older sister, especially after the passing of their mother. Before they moved in, obviously all the girls had met each other numerous times, but they never really clicked. Amber and I hoped this would change after the move, but unfortunately didn't. I guess Cara had her feelings hurt because she had tried to come in Tina and Tracy's room, in which they wouldn't let her in, and told her to go away. Amber was upset at this, and so was I because it was mean. Amber demanded I make them spend time with Cara because she was being left out, and I agreed what they did was mean, but that I wouldn't force them to spend time. She said they live together now and that it was only fair they all hung out today, and that it didn't always be just Tina and Tracy anymore. I reminded her of the age difference between the girls and how they've been stuck like glue their whole lives, then again told her I wouldn't force them to spend time, and when they wanted to and it was natural they would. She got super angry, started shouting at me, accusing me of treating Cara unfairly, and that I was being a huge dick about this whole thing. She's now sleeping in Cara's room because she didn't want to be near me. Am I the arsehole? No, I don't think he's the arsehole, but I do kind of understand both sides of this. Like, she's obviously just upset that her daughter's being left out, but I don't think it's necessarily just because she is her daughter that the other girls are leaving her out. It is probably just more they've spent their whole lives together and there is an age difference. Like, not many 9-year-olds and 12 and 13-year-olds are going to have much in common, especially if you haven't grown up together. So I don't think it's unusual for the older siblings to kind of isolate or just like not want to be around the younger ones. Like, obviously it is mean to shut her out the room and tell her to go away, and obviously the dad was annoyed by that and did say that that was mean, and he can always talk to the girls and say like that wasn't very nice, but I don't think they should be forced to play together because that's just going to make it worse. Like, it would actually be better for the younger daughter that she actually feels like she's wanted there, rather than the older sisters have been forced to be with her, if that makes sense. And then obviously the older ones won't have a resentment towards Cara because they haven't been forced. Yeah, I don't think he's in the wrong, but I do understand why his wife is a bit annoyed. I don't know. I think it depends on if you've got siblings or not, and how your siblings all were growing up. Like, maybe the wife is an only child or only has brothers or was close with all her siblings and didn't have an age gap. I don't know. I just don't think that's very abnormal. And you can't force kids to be friends, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't think he's the arsehole.